to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or Tom at TrentoVision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Okay, there's Tom Trento right there. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? We have like a reunion going on in this place right now. And but everybody who's watching goes, I can't see them. I can't. Oh, there, you can see a little bit of CJ. Can't see any of our featured guest, Adam.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm going to put you on. You know what? We'll move people around or something.
I didn't shave today. So.
That's all right. That's right. And Paul is here, too. Paul, we were looking at it's the back of your head right there. But in any event, welcome. Welcome to Trento Vision on...
You could see Joe.
Oh, Joe, yeah.
Joe.
What's interesting is our guys aren't here today. The video crew abandoned us.
Yeah.
What are we going to do about that?
What are you going to do about it? You're the boss.
We fixed it with an iPhone. An iPhone has been determined to be the most amazing invention of the past 200 years.
There's something covering part of it, though. Is that...
That's called Duct Tape Productions. Okay?
Okay.
We have...
Is that why you can't see what you want to see on the screen?
It's actually not... The quality's not too bad. This is amazing. I mean, we have very expensive cameras, and it's... not much different than that, but we don't have the two-shot and the video and all. We don't have all.
We don't have all the slick stuff.
No, but people can still watch because people, when they saw your
and the phone still works.
The phone works.
And it's ringing already. It's probably Mark.
It's Mark.
Move the camera this way.
No. We know it works because Mark called up 20 times. Exactly that. You got to fix this. Yeah, the audio's not right. Our technician is in Orlando.
Oh my gosh, I am semi-disembodied.
Yes, you are. Our guys today are at a summit, Adam and Paul. We'll talk about it later.
It is, Mark.
What do you want, Mark?
I think you guys are being all slick there with your little iPhone thing. Just to let you know that this has not gone unnoticed by our union rep.
Well, you'll be fighting.
Being all good and funny up there. Yeah. Okay, we got it.
You'll be fighting the Apple Corporation. That's what you'll be fighting because right now for our viewing audience, Tom Trento here, Trento Vision at 5 minutes past 3 o'clock on a beautiful Thursday. We don't have our normal cameras set up like we typically do. What we have is we got a crew up at a unique summit. You guys will be interested in this. It's a Christian Summit on Islam. How do we deal with the ensuing threat of Islam from a loving Christian perspective, but also from an activist Christian perspective?
The problem
so we got
Sharia.
We can't play our Sharia bits or anything. We're dead in the water here on the video end. Joe, you're going to have to maybe sing or dance or do something to entertain the audience.
Doing my Sharia.
Oh, there you go.
We don't need me anymore. I'm going to go take a nap.
Okay.
Oh, wrong. That is so wrong.
Yes. No, we got this picture.
Have a good schluff.
But in any event, for the viewing audience, our cameras are up at an event that we'll tell you about in a little bit. And we weren't going to have any video side, just the audio side from North Miami all the way up to Fort Pierce, make a left on the turnpike, head up to Kissimmee, or you guys may call it Kissimmee if you don't live around here.
Kissimmee, you fool.
I loved when the Houston Astros had their minor league team there, and it was actually called what you think it might be. See? You're telling me it's not true? Oh, it wasn't called the Kissimmee? Can I say that on the radio?
Yeah.
Oh, Kissimmee Astros. Okay.
Yes, you can say that.
All right. Urban myth. Sorry about that. Okay.
When does Kenny come in? Next hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be here all show, right?
I think so, unless I got kicked out for half the series.
The next hour. Next hour is.
But you're a lawyer, right?
We're still technically a lawyer. It's not what I do on a day-to-day basis.
We're going to get into all that.
I'm proud to say I'm not a lawyer in 47 of the 50 states.
I got some stuff to do here, but we're going to get into that. And our engineer, after Joe leaves, Kenny, is a
He's the encyclopedia
on sports. It's
yeah.
like I played the Alabama fight song the other day, right? And Kenny, what is it? He goes, Alabama fight song, and it's really obscure. I mean, it's not the Notre Dame one. So in any event, Tom Trento here once again, National Security Radio, making jihad fun. But the reason for that, we've spoken about it extensively, is this is very serious stuff, as we know. I just found out from these good guys here that President Obama gave our friends up in Lebanon, Hezbollah, 200 armored vehicles to help in the little spillover from Syria. So, and Joe Biden today, we'll get into that too, wants to waive their monarchical, what does a monarch carry? What is that thing? Do they have like magic wands?
The scepter?
Scepter. Yeah, I guess a monarch could have a scepter. Wave it and say, no more guns. Get rid of all the guns and all of that stuff. But
yeah, you could just twitch your nose like this. And
maybe,
no
maybe.
More guns.
In any event, Mark is not here today, our disembodied voice. He is up in Orlando, and Invisible Mike is gone. But you're here. Welcome.
But I'm here.
How was your morning?
It was swell, thank you.
What'd you do today? Anything interesting?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, she's always secretive with this stuff.
Yes. Well, you're so persistent with your
Okay.
questions.
Well, did you see the Adam Taxon little flyer I sent out?
Yes, I did, and I'm so intrigued by the chicken wings I can't even begin to express.
I was there. I think I was there when this was taking place. Do you remember when it was?
I think, one of the times I was in Wing Bowl twice. It would have been 3 years ago, probably, that particular time.
I was around.
That was fun. You're making me hungry, by the way. I should have eaten lunch before I came here if you wanted to talk about this.
There's who's banging.
No, I'm kidding. It was a joke for the audience.
There's you're there with a couple of chicks, man, behind you. What is going on
Well,
there?
that was a few years ago, and I'd like to say hi to Tara Lynch if she's listening. I believe she's the one on the right with the longer blonde hair.
You don't know?
I don't have it in front of me. I think Tara.
Okay.
Tara's the one who really stands out in that picture, but she looks at
She
stuff on
stands
Facebook.
quite out in this picture.
Yes, I believe she had a wardrobe.
The other one stands out a bit.
Yes. But that was my first trip in Wing Bowl. I think that would have been Wing Bowl 2006, which would have been Wing Bowl. That would have been Wing Bowl 14, and they're now getting ready for Wing Bowl 21. This time we're legal. Yeah, that's their theme.
Well, let me introduce you guys to the
It's a Philly thing.
With us today in studio is a good friend of mine, Adam Taxon. Adam, if you could. No, it's going to be hard. Not really going to be able to see you. Oh, there you go. Okay.
There we go.
There you go. And Paul Singer. Now, Paul is a friend of yours, obviously, or he's your parole officer, or what is he?
Chauffeur?
Chauffeur. No, we drove down here. We had a few things to take care of in Florida, and road trips are fun. And I found out that this man of the world had never been to south of the border. And so it was obvious that we were not going to be flying down. And you need a good drive every once in a while, especially when there's no ice and snow on the roads. And so we drove down here, did a road trip. I was here just in time for my mom's birthday, which was on Tuesday. Surprised her a little bit. And let's just say the weather isn't so bad down here in South Florida this week. My parents have been coming 30 years, 40 years maybe, and they say it's the best weather they've ever experienced.
Oh, they come down for the winter time?
They come for a couple of weeks every winter. My dad schedules his vacation around that. It's been perfect.
This is the way.
Not to rub it into all of you who are not in South Florida right now.
Now, you're in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Paul is in Philadelphia. He lives down the street. He's actually more of an expert on this stuff. So pump me up right now, because when the substance begins, Paul's the one who's going to stand out.
Don't worry, there won't be much.
And you live in downtown Philadelphia. You too, Paul?
I live in Center City, Philadelphia.
Center City, yeah. Now, you guys drove from Philadelphia because he had not seen south of the border. Oh, by the way.
No, this is not the real reason. We're actually on a mission from God.
Oh, I want to hear about that.
Okay.
All right.
Basically, what had happened is we were following some podcasts. I'm following some podcasts, and I was researching conversions to Judaism and why one of the big on our topic and our relationship to our topic is
It's a Philadelphia guy. Oh my God.
Okay.
I grew up in Jersey, and we could always tell when you were at Seaside Heights or Point Pleasant or one of those. Somebody from Philly said, "Say water. Say water."
Water.
What?
Water. And don't bring up any NFL stuff this year. That's inappropriate down from Philadelphia.
That's true. Yes.
No, but we were traveling down. Basically, I had come across this interesting character, an interesting rabbi, who pretty much in my lifetime, 49 years, is the first rabbi that is aggressively looking to convert people to Judaism.
Yeah, you never see
Wow.
that.
Never see that, right?
see
Because
that.
there's a big controversy. What happened in the original Jews when
You're Jewish?
I'm Jewish, and
You Orthodox or?
no, I'm just don't call me late for dinner. No, but
Okay.
basically this
You
guy.
eat pork and all that stuff, or you?
No.
Oh.
In reality, I'm Jewish, and I've lived my life as a Jew. But from a technical standpoint, there are those that would not consider me Jewish because my mother, maternally, I'm not Jewish.
Okay.
Okay. And in Judaism, if you don't know, it's a maternalistic religion. In that,
Well, then how can you be if your mother's not?
how
Did
can
you
be?
convert?
Well, there's they're getting into some very high inside baseball, but
It's okay.
But the fact
we got a
is,
rabbi in here.
okay,
We have Rabbi Kavon. He's probably listening.
okay, but basically what we're talking about is, I mean,
Hang on.
in
500,000 Jewish people live in our,
okay,
in our
so
listening
so I
audience.
know what we're talking
this is
about.
huge,
So it's
you know,
okay.
and they're all listening right
Okay,
now.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So basically, what
No pressure,
we're
though.
talking about is that it's a very common phenomenon in American society. Is that since the diaspora of Judaism, you have a lot of Jews who have married non-Jewish women, and questionable. Is their children Jewish? Do they need to convert back to Judaism?
Oh,
Even if
okay.
in their house, and then there's certain Jewish law that would say, hey, my last name is Singer. Sounds Jewish. I'm in real estate and finance, a Jewish profession.
You drive a Toyota Camry.
Is that a tell?
Is that it? Really?
Well, you
No.
got to be over 80.
Okay.
If you're over 80 and you're driving a Camry, you're probably Jewish in South Florida.
Okay. So if your mannerisms, if your last name sounds Jewish, if these are problems. Look, if we want to go with, have I been in street fights in France with Arabs and Algerians? Yeah. So I guess they thought I was Jewish enough to want to try and knock my block off.
Yeah.
So apparently I must have fit their acid test. But nonetheless.
He's a mixed martial artist, though.
Okay.
So the Arabs didn't do too well.
But in any event, so it was very interesting to me, and I think it's probably interesting to a lot of people. And, hey, what is this? That this guy would aggressively, one of the first guys in my lifetime that wants to aggressively, his program is to try and convert non-Jews to Judaism. Probably not to start with people who are already religious and already morally or ethically living good lives, like maybe evangelical Christians or whoever, but certainly secular humanists, atheists, Islamics. I mean, this guy is in the hood in Miami Gardens.
Or Miami Beach.
Yeah, Miami Gardens.
Miami Gardens.
Yeah.
He's in the hood there, and he's like aggressively.
You know who he's talking about?
No, I know the neighborhood.
Oh,
'cause I
It's a
used to
rough.
live
It's a
there.
rough spot.
Yeah.
You can catch it good there, and he's on the street evangelizing.
You're kidding me. Now that's interesting.
Which is such a unique
We should get him on the show.
phenomenon, and
What's his name?
his name is Rabbi Asher Meza, and his I'll plug his website. It's www.bejewish.org. So anyway, that was the reason. I solicited Adam because Adam is the internet guy who knows how to really help videos go viral, and
We talked about that. Tom and I talked before the show about that.
Yeah, and
we'll be talking more about that.
yeah, and so I wanted Adam to really meet this guy firsthand. Or actually, Adam wanted to meet him firsthand because there's a lot of guys that are phony and fakes, and sound good on internet, but then when you actually go out and meet them, it's somebody else. So we said, you know what? Let's invest the time and energy. We'll run down there. Let's find out if this guy's the real deal.
Yeah, I wanted to feel him out, and he was the real deal. He was very impressive in person.
Yeah. So part of his thought process and mine too is, look, from a security standpoint, if I can take someone who's currently my adversary and convert them or convince them to believe in my religious ideology. We talked about this with him last night. One of the fundamental flaws that Jews, and even in Israel, if we want to be self-critical of Israel and self-critical of Jewry, is that, hey, we had 2 million Arabs there that we failed to convert either. We certainly failed to convert them to Judaism. We did not allow them legally to be converted to Christianity. So their default third religion was radicalized Islam, which calls for our death.
Yep.
So from a security, even from a pragmatic standpoint, it's an epic failure.
Let me say something about where I came from. My mother, whose birthday was the other day, part of also my reason for coming to Florida to surprise her on her birthday. My mother is Jewish, so there's not really a whole lot of doubt in that. And I hang out generally at. Am I still on? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
no,
Okay. At a modern Orthodox or
actually, you can back off a little bit.
Okay. At a modern Orthodox or Chabad synagogue in Philadelphia, I mix it up a little bit. Sometimes I go to a Spanish-Portuguese one, which is fairly unique. One of only like 4 in the world, and one of them is in Philly. Maybe there's 5. But you know, often you can fall into a rut. There's not much I have to do to be Jewish. Yeah, you try to keep as many of the commandments as you can. But the reality was, you know, many, many years ago, I was born to a Jewish mother. That's about it. And I think often we can get a little bit lazy. A lot of times people especially, you know, people who go to Chabad, you can go to a social event. You can see your friends. It's fun. You can go and, you know, do it, hear an interesting talk, see your friends afterwards. It's not that hard to be Jewish. It's not like a challenge. And can you really say, I'm fulfilling the mission that God has for the Jewish people? I'm not sure I'm doing that much if I'm going to have a nice meal and see my friends and have a few l'chaims. It just, you know, it's also nice if you want to feel good about your faith. Even if you don't 100% agree with someone's doing, you really, I mean, not someone who wants to kill you. That's a different matter. But someone who has a different approach, it's good to consider it and certainly hear something different. And obviously I don't have any real reason to convert because I'm there. But I simply listen to Rabbi Meza's YouTube videos, and I'm a big fan of short, good YouTube videos which catch attention and go viral. And when people look at my ads on A-Taxon channel on YouTube, sorry, I had to do that. But it's just, you learn something interesting. I don't pretend to have the greatest attention span in the world. I don't have a short attention span, but I appreciate people who really take their audience seriously, who are respectful of it, and often talk in sound bites and give you something memorable if you're going to spend 4 minutes of their time hearing about a topic. And I was very impressed by what he did. And often,
Asher, what's his name? Asher Meza?
Rabbi Asher Meza, and his website, I believe, is bejewish.org.
Yeah, I was just.
They were very engaging. And another thing I have a problem with is they. Sorry, I get a little animated.
That's okay. That's okay.
They talk about current topics. Like, good luck getting someone to talk about homosexual so-called marriage at a modern Orthodox synagogue because you don't want to offend anyone. So you have some cute remarks, whatever. And good luck getting, you know, them to even talk about Islam too much, other than maybe a cute little dig somewhere. But they're not going to really talk about it. Rabbi Meza, give him credit, is actually talking about these things in a way no one who is, I guess, in better with the observant Jewish establishment would be. And that's what I had to say.
All right, at 20 minutes past 3 o'clock, you're with Tom Trento on Trento Vision. CJ is with me today. Mark and Michael are not here. But we have from Philadelphia, from Center City in Philadelphia, beautiful place, by the way, and some neat stuff there. I mean, we were in Independence Hall with Wilders, Geert Wilders, had a wonderful time. These guys are here, Paul Singer, Adam Taxon, and today we're going to go wherever the Spirit leads in many respects, but we'll dig into some of the contemporary and current issues of the day from a national security perspective. We'll pick up a little later on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for American foreign policy, as Barry Rubin spoke about and as we dealt with yesterday. But we want you to know that tomorrow I will not be here. You will be here, though.
I will be here.
The boys are still going to be in Orlando. The girl will be right here. I'll be in South Carolina. I'm speaking at the...
so much trouble. He needs to go out of town for the weekend.
I'm speaking at the South Carolina Tea Party Convention on some national security stuff, foreign law, all of this.
You know what that means, right? Can you see that
guys,
on camera?
Yeah, well, guess what?
Yeah.
When the zombies come and all hell breaks loose, you're going to be looking for the South Carolina Tea Party people, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be saving the Republic. But tomorrow, who do we have here tomorrow?
We have Peter Feynman, renowned Palm Beach County attorney, National Committeeman for the Republican Party representing the state of Florida, author of several books.
What are the names of those books?
Wake Up America,
yeah.
And Since You Didn't.
It was on Islam. It was Wake Up, the Muslims are going to kill you.
Hang on 1 second.
You actually may have a copy. Did he give you a copy?
Yeah,
good,
I have a copy with me.
All right. He was here yesterday, Peter Feynman, and we interviewed him and then let him do a little test run to be a guest host. There's one of his. Oh, it's his second book, The Next Nightmare.
The Next Nightmare.
And basically, what is that all about?
The Next Nightmare successfully chronicles how political correctness will destroy our great republic unless we are willing to identify our enemy and have the courage to speak out.
Okay. And while you're looking for a good lawyer, Feynman Law, Feaman law.com. Feynmanlaw.com. Peter has represented us, some of our cases, has represented me personally, has referred people for many of our friends. So he'll be here tomorrow, and you can call in tomorrow. You can call in today, too, if you want, 888-565-1470. We have a couple of Philly boys here from the south, from the south side. That's the Italian section, right? Geno's
it was at one point.
Geno's are
well, no,
Geno's
they wouldn't be eating that.
Oh, you wouldn't?
At one point I did.
No.
I went with Geno's because it was more politically conservative.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that's a tough choice for me because Pat Steaks is a personal friend of mine, but Gino Steaks obviously is just an
Which
an
is the one with all the
outspoken-
lights?
Well, they both have just a lot of lights, and but the Ventos from Gino Steaks were at one point before he passed huge political advocate for conservative causes.
Really?
Oh.
Now, let's get into
Which is hard in Center City,
That's not
Philadelphia.
easy to
because
do in that neighborhood.
They immediately attacked his business, and
When was this?
about 5 years ago.
Yeah, he died maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah, I heard
I want to
about that.
put in one plug for the Jewish listeners who should be keeping kosher. Me Law Vegetarian on, I believe it's 16th between Locust and Walnut has a good, it's kosher approved by Rabbi Hirsch in Center City, good vegan cheesesteak. So,
Oh, really?
let's let us into this
Okay,
conversation
you're
too.
in there. Yeah. We're an equal opportunity eater here. And one other thing before we get into you guys, our very good friend General Paul Vallely is writing extensively on some of the critical national security issues today. Got to go to his website, standupamericauS.org. You got to put the U.S. or you wind up at Terry Jones's website.
Yeah.
The pastor Terry Jones.
Yeah.
General Paul Vallely, you may have met him.
Someone
he's
burned a
okay.
Koran somewhere in the world. Let's go to Terry Jones and
go to
see what
Terry
he
Jones.
has to say about it.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That guy.
But General Paul Vallely's website is standupamericauS.org. Make sure you go there. All right, let's establish who you guys are. We'll start with you, Adam. I presented you as a wing-eating, Harvard-graduating, Jeopardy-playing lawyer guy. Who are you and why are you
I am
here?
technically an attorney in the state of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Lately, in the last year or so, I've been really dedicated toward my writing, and in 2013, I've really tried to be on the cutting edge of where a lot of political information is coming from. I run the Daily Beck on Facebook, which probably is going to be at 10,000 members any day now, actually, if not today already. I haven't checked it. I clip up Glenn Beck's show, and they seem to be okay with it. I put it in segments, and I try to put cute little pictures on it and make it just a little usable. Because
So you go through all that material?
I go through as much as I have the time to, and then it gets ads on, and I get some revenue out of it. That's really my main focus. Also, when I do my own videos, I'm trying to give people what they want. And not to take anything away from podcasts, but if you have 4 minutes, you can't necessarily sit through a 40-minute
What is a podcast? You hear that term a
The
lot.
podcast means if you're on Facebook, and that's the way a lot of people get these things. If you're on Facebook, you see someone post something. Adam Taxon discusses vegan cheesesteaks with Tom Trento is the title. I don't know if too many people are going to really want that one, but it's obviously the first one on my mind. You want to listen to it. It's a 2-minute clip from the show. And people listen to it. If they like it, they share it. As opposed to listening to, not to take anything away from your show, like 55 minutes without the commercials, in which maybe you'll hear that, maybe not. I think it's the future, and I sort of want to be in on that. And in fact, I'm trying to avoid doing any writing because I only have so much time and energy. I'm trying to do everything on YouTube. So when I do a lot of theater reviews, cultural stuff. I go to...
No, wait, hang on.
Yeah.
You went to Harvard University.
Yeah.
And you did a degree in economics.
Yeah.
Why?
kind of a default. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life for a long time, and sort of...
Wait. You don't usually go, I don't know what I want to do, I'm going to go to Harvard.
Well, no, you kind of get 15, 20 on your SATs and you have some pretty good records from college, and I don't know if you think about it any more than anyone else. That happens to
But
me.
as a little kid, when you were 10, 11, 12, did you want to be a Philadelphia fireman, a baseball player? What
I mean, you wanted to be a
aspirations?
baseball fireman, but when you're not really one of the better players on your... a Philadelphia baseball player, but when you're not one of the better players on your Little League team, it sort of sends you a message there. And when you have pretty bad vision, the baseball thing isn't going to work out, but go Phillies.
All right, so at what point did you say Harvard?
A lot of things, when I was at Harvard and it was sophomore year and you had to get a major, I think, like, you want to avoid being a government major, which is also very interesting because it's kind of useless. You read books, at least something useful. And I like to say that they have a very Keynesian department, but my work habits and study habits were atrocious enough that they didn't make a communist out of me. I didn't pay attention in class often enough that I came out okay.
Okay, so you make it through Harvard and economics, and then you go, okay, I think I'll go to Columbia and become a lawyer.
Well, I spent a few years in between. I like to say doing time at an investment bank, and I worked in consulting, et cetera, et cetera.
It wasn't for you.
No, it really isn't. And it became clear, and often people can go that path, and that's great, but I think there's just a different plan for me, and I'm trying to keep this interesting for your audience. And, you know, a lot of things in my life I gave up trying to figure out why they're happening. I just sort of go with the flow. That's been something true in my personal life, actually, just in the last week, like stuff you couldn't even predict, mind-blowingly great.
South of the border, let's go!
I wasn't talking about, like, hitting on a waitress at south of the border, and that's just in case Marla's listening.
CJ, you know south of the border?
No.
Okay, we'll have to tell everyone.
I got a good plug in that. I want a free Pedro keychain when I come back.
Everyone who is not from New York, New Jersey, and comes down 95 to Florida, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know about it. But if you are from there, you know
What
about it.
exit
You know about it.
is south of the border?
It's exit 1 for obvious reasons, right
yeah.
across the border in South Carolina from North Carolina. But it's a Mexican-themed place. Obviously, Mexicans are a lot more prevalent in America today than they were in the 1950s, when there was something, I guess, a little more exotic about Mexico. And it's this sort of resort.
It's like a truck stop resort.
But it's glorified. They have Pedroland amusement park. They have all sorts of fireworks, T-shirts. It's just, and it's a very boring, you know, you go through some interesting parts of Virginia and Florida, but there's really, not to take anything away from those parts of North Carolina and South Carolina, but those are not the parts, I-95 is not in those parts of North Carolina and South Carolina that people really visit. I mean, Dunn, North Carolina, people don't go on family trips there. Florence, South Carolina is not Myrtle Beach, etc.
And the bizarre thing, about 100 miles out, both ways, north and south, there's billboards every 5 feet. Pedro says it's hot today, cold tamale or whatever. Yeah. Cold today, hot tamale, all these goofy things.
Like going to the Corn Palace.
I don't know the Corn Palace. Where's that?
Like in South Dakota or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're driving across the country.
And I mean, it mesmerizes and almost hypnotizes
For
you.
5
You've got
states,
to stop. Yeah, you've got
see the
to stop.
billboards
You go there and
you
you
have to go.
how many Mexican keychains can you possibly, have, or glasses with Pedro? Pedro's the mascot.
The mascot.
So, you're a sports guy. What's the mascot for Alabama?
Crimson Tide, the elephant. Like the old Philadelphia Athletics.
Yeah, why an elephant,
I saw the size of some of those linemen, but I don't think that's
it was actually that the size of they fought and were like this is in the 30s or whatever, like an elephant, but then something else popped in.
Can I ask a dumb question? I know I should know this. I'm not, and I don't claim to be much of an expert on anything other than pro football and Major League Baseball. Was Alabama actually that good a team before Bear Bryant? I mean, I don't know if
before Bear Bryant.
Yeah, I mean before the 50s, were they really one of the great programs?
That's a Kenny question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to wait till 4 o'clock to get into those issues.
Yeah. All right, so you go to law school, and when did you graduate law school?
I graduated in 2001.
That's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, 12, 11
Worked
years.
as a lawyer before.
What kind of law? At some point, you got to decide criminal law, business law.
Done some commercial litigation work.
All right, and you don't like it? What's the
No, it just I think a lot of people you have to sort of. you have to have passion, and not to take anything away from lawyers who work hard and are really great, but I'm not good at things if I don't have passion about them. And that's true of personal relationships. I'm either there or I'm not. When I'm there, I'm totally there. And I'm enjoying being on your show right now, so hopefully that's true. But I mean, when you do writing, when you do creative stuff, I mean, you can't be everything. You can't be good at everything. And certain personality types are different. And when I'm writing something or I'm creating something good, I am so hyper-focused that, I can't do anything else. And that often involves, not going to the bathroom until the last possible moment.
Or Paul gets the medication out.
Well, no, there's no medication or anything.
You have to push him. You have to pull him a little bit further back from the microphone.
That's right.
Now, you hang on one second. How do you fit into this dynamic duo here?
How'd you get roped into this?
Yeah.
I'm actually reevaluating that as we speak. I'm really wondering.
You mean the car ride didn't do it for you?
Look, this car ride. I couldn't even explain to you this car ride. If you could imagine for a second, one Orthodox Jew, one guy here thinking seriously about Judaism, listening to Dennis Prager Bibles. Dennis Prager also has the complete Bible commentary.
Yeah.
So
Prager University.
We're listening to YouTube podcasts of Reverend Manning, Rabbi Mezer, listening to Dennis Prager's Bible commentary.
God, this is like a trip on a mission for God.
This was a mission from God. It really was.
Well, there was some personal discussion and crude conversation, too. I don't want to give the
that
impression
sounds like a fun road trip, actually.
Well, with that much spirituality, morality, yet we had to spice it occasionally with some personal nonsense. Otherwise, we would have probably hit a car and went straight to heaven.
Well,
we almost did. That was why we got off the road in Chester, Virginia, when we did. That was the story.
And my background with Adam, I was involved, and CJ, we were involved with bringing Geert Wilders, who's the Dutch parliamentarian, who is a avowed pro-Western, anti-Islamic jihad. He's not anti-Muslim. He's anti-Islamic jihad leader in Europe. He came to Florida. We had him here. We hosted him here. And, in fact, we had him at a hotel in Delray Beach. And the hotel at the last minute backed out of the contract and all this. And Peter Feynman was our lawyer.
Helped us with that.
And helped us.
Yeah, I was actually at that event at the Union League with Kurt Wilders. I was there.
Well, in April.
Okay, and you don't remember me either.
Well, actually, I didn't really know Adam that well at that point. That was a couple of years back.
Yeah, it was 2009. Well, April of 2009, we had him here.
Okay.
No, I think it was 2010.
I just finished Mark for Death, by the way.
No.
About a month back.
So did I.
Yeah, it was great.
Isn't that a very
in October. Was it October or November?
April of 2009, we had him here.
No, in Florida. I'm talking about in Philadelphia.
October of 2009.
It was October?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had him out there, and Wilders, and that's where. But I started working with you earlier than that.
Well, you were in Philly a lot.
Yeah, I was in Philly quite a bit. And as much fun as we're having today, you're a very serious guy dealing with a lot of serious issues and national security stuff and Jewish stuff. But now, what is your angle? Your friends, but what do you do for a living? I know I don't know what you do for a living yet. You used to be a lawyer. You're trying to make a transition.
Basically, my professional background is I'm a private real estate lender. So in some terms, they call that a hard money lender. I guess somebody in the Obama administration might call that a predatory lender. But private real estate financing and private real estate investment. So that's sort of been my background for about 25 years. And, during this last recession, which has been at the center point of the recession has really been the war against small business lenders and real estate professionals by this administration. So it's given me a lot more time to start to focus on outside interests, many of which are the things that we talked about, the growing problem that I see in the country where we really have this complacency towards Sharia Islam, radical Islam, and just like an acquiescence and everybody just looking the other way.
Now, this is the work we do, so that's what we do, but how did you come, you're trying to loan money to buy houses and all this regular stuff and things get rough. What was the sort of the epiphany or the moment of recognition on your part that, oh my God, something's wrong here?
Well, this, personally, my journey has been, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a street kid from Philadelphia. So, and this is not the first rodeo, and I've seen this on our streets in Philadelphia, in our prison system.
You've seen it. Well, describe it for the viewers and listeners.
What do we really have in America today? What we've had since probably the late 60s in the African American communities, this growing undercurrent of anti-Americanism, which pretty much manifests itself through
the Black Panthers in Philadelphia in 2010 holding sticks and not letting people go into the voting precinct.
Yeah, actually, that guy that was at the Black Panthers, I was at a funeral about 2 weeks before that for a friend of mine who was an African-American guy, died from cancer, a close friend of mine, who he was also friends with this guy. So I was probably like I think I was the only white guy. I was the only white guy at the funeral. So that's sort of some of the circles that I've traveled in too.
Sure.
And, it was funny because actually one-on-one, I don't think that guy would have really had too much to say to me. I mean, you see a white guy at an all-black funeral, it's not the guy you want to start with.
By the way, you mentioned the new Black Panthers, and that Election Day thing was horrible. It's a total indictment of Eric Holder and the Department of Justice, and it is what it seems. However, I don't think that they have that much support. I imagine most blacks wouldn't tell us this because they wouldn't admit it. I imagine they find him and his probably 2 or 3 friends kind of annoying, would be my guess. The real issues are the real Nation of Islam. And there you see on the streets of Philadelphia women in burqas looking like they're out of Star Wars all the time, just nonstop, and it's growing and growing.
In Center City.
That's the real threat, not the so-called new Black Panthers.
Yeah, the real threat, look, here's to my original point. What I've seen firsthand, just being a kid in Philadelphia and growing up is, we've seen a shift in the black community change from Christian, Baptist, Methodist to Islam. And I think you started the show out with something along these very same lines where the black community is losing their own community. One of the things that I do in addition is I'm involved in a street ministry. I'm a volunteer for a street ministry started by a friend of mine who's a former union boss and who did 7 years in penitentiary.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so he has a street ministry.
What the Jewish street ministry?
No. He's Christian. I just volunteer there because I happen to be a ex-boxer and mixed martial artist.
Okay.
So I train kids there, and there's no Jewish street ministry to volunteer.
I was going to say.
Zero, none. Maybe
so you're just looking to help kids get off the street.
Just looking to help because I've been there and I know what the deal is. And it's at one of the worst drug corners in Philadelphia, Kensington and Somerset. It's a notorious national drug corner.
Is that down by Temple University? Over there?
Kind of much worse area than Temple.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is something you see walking zombies, heroin addicts, just walking back and forth, 15, 16-year-olds prostituting. It's the bottom of the barrel. And in this is one of those great places. But what I see traveling back and forth, and what we see is just this growing amount in the urban black community of, anybody who's been into a prison system or a penitentiary is basically forced to convert to Islam.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. And it's seen as a religion of strength because it's a religion that focuses on a lot of violent aspects.
Right.
It's appealing. If you're in an incarcerated situation and you're scared and you're terrified and maybe someone's going to press up on you or possibly rape you, now you're involved in a group as opposed to an individual, which is some of the foundations of Christianity and Judeo principles.
If the neo-Nazis are coming after you, who do you want to be with?
Well, we don't have any neo-Nazis in Philadelphia prison systems, that's for sure, because probably our city population is probably less than 15% white, or maybe 20% at most.
Really?
So it's an urban Hispanic and black prison population. So this is a dilemma, and it's a real,
it is. It makes a lot of sense. Sure.
And it's a real dilemma, not just. And amazingly, one of the groups that doesn't mention how much of a dilemma it is black Christians, decent black Christians.
They're very
that have
silent.
Lost. Well, there's I think a website, or I think it's called, or the movie, isn't it? Losing Our Sons.
Yeah.
Isn't that what that's about?
A little different. It's jihadi shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
A black jihadi shot a white army kid.
Yeah.
And the two fathers got together and are seeking to try to stop that kind of stuff and help
but
people.
It was about, part of it was about the recruitment.
Okay, there was a piece about recruitment.
Yeah, about the recruitment.
Yeah, we've had them on the show.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of
so
stuff.
let me ask you, what happened in the early '60s? Blacks in this country were Christian and loved John F. Kennedy and loved America, and then Johnson comes along with the Great Society, and everybody goes on welfare, and everything breaks down.
Well, pretty much. I mean, Dennis Prager, one of my heroes, calls it the age of stupidity. I mean, it seems like everybody has just basically lost their mind. Where this entitlements that came in, the entitlements that came in. Look, my wife's from Eastern Europe. When you go into a society where you don't have to, where we get away from individualism, and you don't have to think, you don't have to do, it's like quicksand. It's easy to fall in, very hard to get out.
And that's a major appeal of Islam, because you're encouraged not to think. In fact, you're instructed not to think.
Well,
everything is thought out for you in every aspect of your life.
Now, let me just add one thing, because you brought up Lyndon Johnson, and I think it would be interesting for your audience, especially if they're on Google right now. They should put in Lyndon Johnson and the words, "I'll have them," I won't say the other word on the air, but it begins with an ed, voting Democratic for the next 300 years. That pretty much is following up on what you said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You've ever heard that quote?
No.
Lyndon Johnson said that, and the agenda was to make them dependent on government.
Yeah.
And again, you're not going to want to say that on the air.
Yeah, well,
and I was married to a political science professor who knew everything Johnson ever said and did, and that's how I.
Well, you find that. I mean, whether it's Lyndon Johnson, whether it's Margaret Sanger, whether it's Planned Parenthood, it's interesting because some people will say, hey, these ultra conservatives, they're really Islamophobes, they're racist, they're this or that. When we actually do the research and find out that the history of these movements, we find the exact opposite. We find that those that want to come with $5 handout are typically the most racist of all, because their agenda is to breed a continual subsistence.
All right. Well, I've never heard this before.
Actually, that's something interesting for us to talk about with Peter tomorrow, because one of the things that Peter Feynman does, who's going to be our guest host tomorrow, is he volunteers as a prison
chaplain.
Yeah, as a prison chaplain.
He goes in, and he's a Christian, and he goes into all that.
Christian.
Yeah, 1964, Lyndon Johnson uttered the word, the N-word, in relation to having a race and a caste of people brainwashed into voting for Democratic candidates. Yeah. 1964.
And it's so much worse because of the vote fraud. And in Philadelphia, Paul actually can really talk about what happened there. It's so overwhelming, you can't get anyone monitoring the voting there, and you see the results of what happened in Philadelphia and in places near here, like Fort Pierce. We can't get anyone, presumably white, to monitor the election.
We were very involved in the Fort Pierce Allen West campaign. Allen was our congressman in this district. Then he went up there about an hour and a half north, and that was just horrendous. But I got a question related back to Lyndon Johnson here. Did he ever make a statement using the J word? I'll have those Jewish people voting Democratic.
I would think like the K word, and that's not really comparable. But first of all, why would he need to? The Jews have been stupidly voting Democrat for so long. He can't take personal credit for that. FDR, the idiots who voted for FDR, despite the fact that he sent the ships back that were taking eventual Holocaust victims. Don't ask me about that one. But Lyndon Johnson, unfortunately, it's been a problem long before LBJ.
Well, we started this show Monday, Labor Day, September 3rd. And we're going to do it for 2 months, basically to beat up Obama and to educate the voting populace in Florida, number 3 state right now, 29 electoral votes, to vote intelligently on national security issues, which meant don't vote for President Obama. we failed. Okay, we failed in our mission, though we saw a dramatic increase in our radio listening audience of people that
we did pretty well in this district. Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, and we're staying on the air. We're doing an hour a day. Then now it's 3 hours a day. And our mission is what we do as an organization. I run the United West, but the Trento, which is a counterterrorism educational organization. Trento Vision side is the command and control communications for organizing the counter-jihad movement in America and for making President Obama's days just miserable and horrible. And we do a lot of work on what he does and his ideology and his Marxist background and all that. But we got somebody that wants to talk to somebody here.
Yes, we have Mark on the line, and he probably wants to talk to you.
Oh, is this our Mark again? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
No, he may have something to ask.
Yes, I think he probably has something to add about the thinking aspect, probably.
Yes. What's up, Mark?
Yeah, well, one little correction. Alabama football history is one of the oldest universities. Football goes all the way back to 1892, and they were very successful before Bear Bryant. But anyway, other than that.
How many national championships? I really don't know. Did they win a lot of national championships?
We're going to do sports in the next hour, okay, boys?
Yeah. 24 over the span. 115 wins, 24 losses. But so they did really well. But back to the the thought part about in the prison system that you guys were talking about earlier. It's there's a definite from Christianity that they're losing them all, because when you come to Islam, if you look at it from a male perspective, Islam is a pretty nice religion. I mean, you're immediately put in power, you're immediately put in charge. You can have multiple wives, and if you kill yourself in the name of jihad, you get 72 virgins. It really does have and the great thing about it is you do not have to think in Islam. There's no requirement to think at all in Islam. You just have to act and do. So everything is pretty much laid out for you. It's a very appealing religion to people who don't want to think, who don't have any ideas about who they are. I mean, it's almost instant honor if you think about it from a male perspective. It's really very appealing.
Yeah, Mark, I often say, and it's something I came up with on my own, I'm sure others have said similar things, if you got a bunch of violent criminals and said, okay, guys, here's your project for the day, if you come up with a religion, it would probably come out pretty close to Islam. And you didn't mention also, based on, I saw something that a cleric, and I guess I should pause and say that breathlessly, a cleric in Egypt said in the last 24 hours, he said, women who were uncovered are just asking to be raped. And so that means, okay, go ahead and rape them, good Islamic men, So, hey, that's another thing that appeals to men of a certain degenerate type.
Well, that raises a larger issue, Mark, too. What contribution has Islam made to the West?
Well, exactly. I mean, you think about it. I mean, well,
culling the population,
thinning out the herds, right?
Graphics is 1,001 reasons, but we won't go into that. But the point being, they have not contributed hardly anything.
No, I mean, I'm not being pejorative or facetious. I was doing some thinking, some serious thinking. What significant contribution has Islam made to Western civilization? Can anybody think of anything?
Well, I think they would argue.
What would they argue?
First of all, they would argue, that they're not part of Western civilization. They're concerned with Eastern civilization. But nonetheless, no, they haven't, because of the way that we measure things. Look, if we look at all the greatest advancements in Western civilization, we have to, when we fundamentally are honest, we have to look at where Judeo-Christianity has entered and played a role, and is there some elevational aspect of it that creates these scientific endeavors, these cultural endeavors. If we look at classical music, whether we look at art, whatever it is, very rarely have you seen any, even in America, we look at all our schools of higher education, none were started by atheists. They were all started by one religious denomination or another. None were started by Islamics. There was no mosque that started these universities. They were either Jewish universities of learning, Christian universities of learning, or different denominations.
I actually did think of one, and I have to play devil's advocate here. If you think of the best, most known, songs you can't help but like pop songs of the last 40 years, I believe the main force behind Kool and the Gang, I'm talking about the song Celebration, is Muslim. I just had to add that to answer the question fairly.
But if you were an observant Muslim, you wouldn't be allowed to listen to it.
So we got a
how
little
does that
disconnect.
help?
We got a little disconnect there. Okay, so that doesn't work. Next.
I don't know. I was thinking about area rugs, but
yeah, maybe Persian.
You know, from a decorating point of view, there are a lot of fine contributions.
No, but if you remember on June 4th, 2009, was it Cairo? Cairo University. In Cairo, our president made his famous apology tour and that whole deal there. And he spoke extensively about the contributions of Islam, not to the West, but to whom?
The Muslim Brotherhood?
To the to the United States of America. That it's had such a tremendous.
I know. It reminded me of. Reminded me of when in upstate in New York, like 10 or 15 years ago, that to help the. They decided that there was a way to explain how the Iroquois actually were responsible for the writing of our Constitution or something like that, because they wanted those people to feel good about themselves in school.
Well, we now have jihadis here, people in the Brotherhood, that are very extensive. We watched and we know them. They're
inside the administration or outside the administration?
Both.
Yeah.
Here in Florida, that are putting out material talking about Muslims coming over, predating Columbus and being involved in America and all of this. Yeah. So it's just a complete rewriting of history that has no basis in anything. But if anybody...
Nothing to do with reality.
It's nice how the left, the radical left in America, has real honest information. It doesn't really matter anymore. So you can kind of just make anything up. Since they've paved the road to make-believe, of course, it opens the door, that you can just, you're talking about what contributions. The contributions we should be talking about are the contributions that the U.S. taxpayer is making to actually fund the enemy against us.
Yeah, it's amazing. I want to get on. Can you guys hang around for the next hour?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Or a portion of it, whatever. What I want to do, Mark, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, one 10-second thing. I just wanted to, like you said, Obama's apology tour, the worst thing that Obama's apology tour did was Muslims do not take responsibility for their actions in the first place. And his apology tour simply just reinforced that belief and just made them worse. That's the worst thing he's done as far as president to the Islamic world.
Yeah, good point. Here's what I want to do. In the next hour, we're going to take a break in a few minutes here. We're gonna get into some of the national security issues, and you guys know about those things. But there's a fascinating article that I saw the other day, and Dr. Keith Ablow, he's on Fox News. If you ever seen him, a psychologist. He wrote an article on entitled "We Are Raising a." Now, so we're jumping ahead now from the 60s and what happened there to the 21st century. We are raising a generation of deluded narcissists. Listen to this opening sentence, and then we'll talk about it. A new analysis of the American Freshman Survey, which has accumulated data for 47 years from 9 million young adults, reveals that, this is crazy, college students are more likely than ever to call themselves gifted and driven to succeed, even though their test scores and time spent studying are decreasing. Okay? They're deluded narcissists. And he goes through this, and it is amazing. But we'll be right back, and we'll talk with Adam and Paul and CJ all about this.
I have an article that
More than 100 million wild animals are killed each year, illegally. Poaching is just one of the risks animals face at our hands. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor. I grew up in the beautiful rural countryside of Ohio, where animals roamed freely in the open forests. I have a deep concern to help preserve those open spaces for our wildlife friends so they can live and thrive like they used to. Destruction of their habitats threaten their very existence. The best way to protect wildlife is to protect the land where they live. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats, and establish permanent sanctuaries. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust,